After Donald Trump is the death of accuracy. There's a huge difference between Europe, Canada, and Australia on one hand, the USSR, Maoist China, North Korea on the other. Yes, I don't think anybody would debate that. I'm assuming everybody in the room is on the same page so far. There is a huge difference between Australia and North Korea. Okay. The distinction matters a lot. George Orwell and Hitchens were actual Democrats. I don't know why you want to use Hitchens. George Orwell, and this is Chomsky, by the way, which I'm not sure this should be your IM name. George Orwell and Hitchens were actual democratic socialists. The democratic socialists want to nationalize the auto industry. Bernie is just your standard New Deal Democrat who wants to tax the rich, reduce the army, and wants living wage and Medicare for all. We need all Republican independent voters in the general election. That's why it matters. Can you address this? Well, actually, I'm sorry. This part is irrelevant. I already did address that. They're going to level that charge against anybody, and so that is what it is. Also, this was the part that I wanted to give an airing, and I don't know. This is very annoying formulation. Can you guys be socialists without being useful idiots for the murderous Maduro regime? You can criticize the government while at the same time supporting Bernie's. Okay, so you're about to get something dangerously, substantively wrong here I'm about to read. But your first couple sentences are wrong, substantively and factually. I have said I said at the heart of the drumbeat for coup and invasion, I top-lined this report in the New York Times about Maduro using paramilitaries for extrajudicial killings. You can go look that up a couple weeks ago in the Majority Report. And my arc of my coverage, if you go back to conversations with Ava Gollinger like a year ago, definitely included very serious critiques of the Venezuelan government. You don't center that when you're on the verge of a coup or invasion, because that's politics, and that's why we aren't just like nerd bots here. There's some strategic analysis about focus. But in every single conversation, look, I'm going to defend Chavez. I'm going to defend the Bolivarian movement in many ways. And I've never shied away from criticizing Maduro and the current government. And even Nathan Robinson, again, he wouldn't center it now, but he wrote a piece about a year ago where he's like, if anything, you could argue Venezuela's on the right. I wouldn't. I would say it's a left populist project. Anyways, so you're wrong. But now you're getting substantively wrong. You can criticize you at the U.S. government while at the same time supporting Bernie's tweets telling Maduro to let aid into the people. Would you have... Okay.
Dude.
So this is where you're... Okay. So that's just so naive. This is what I'm talking about before.
Can you not be a useful idiot for capitalist imperialism?
You know what? I can't. A part of me wants to elaborate how stupid that perspective is, but I mean, honestly, Jamie just nailed it. Like, you're talking about a convoy that has actually turned into an international embarrassment that literally everybody outside of the Venezuelan opposition of Guaido, I don't even want to use opposition that way because there's opposition that is not Guaido, but outside of this Guaido clique and U.S. foreign policy, even the Brazilians were a little bit concerned about it because they're like, whoa, we're not actually going to get into a ground invasion of Venezuela, guys. And the Colombians are, a very far-right government. They were enlisted by it. So what that actually was would be a precursor to greater U.S. interference. Also, a massive undermining of legitimate food aid projects. You might recall, and I'm sorry to say from your IMs, I'm assuming you don't, there was a major operation that was part of what got bin Laden. And I'll give you one that some people don't like, but maybe you would like. I don't have a problem with what we did to Osama bin Laden. I don't. Sorry. I don't. Whatever. What I do have a major, major problem with was that the CIA set up a fake vaccination program as part of an effort to basically collect DNA to properly identify who was in the compound. The blowback and upshot of that lie is a physical danger to health workers, particularly in South Asia and in Pakistan, and a total undermining in places as far away as Nigeria of legitimate and actual efforts to vaccinate people. So this scam convoy was not only a obvious and transparent, and everybody except for like apparently you, because I'm telling you, like, Chris Murphy tweeted about this thing, dude. Okay. And I like Chris Murphy, but I wouldn't put Chris Murphy on the cutting edge of radical critique. Okay. Everybody understood that. And more broadly, what happens when there's a legitimate aid effort of a legitimate aid worker undertaken by the State Department? And now any autocrat in the world can say, oh, well, look at what they were doing in Venezuela. So actually the blowback of it undermines global relief efforts writ large. So dumb take.
It's not controversial that USAID is just a front for the CIA. They have been condemned by those propagandistic and biased bodies known as the UN and the Red Cross as being politically compromised.
They are, but I'm telling you, even projects with USAID that are better and more legit, because these are complex organizations like any other, the nakedness of that effort undermines even where they're doing legitimate work and
that's why the Red Cross
with
doesn't
real
like
jobs.
them.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I'm saying including USAID itself. So, and then the other questions, would you have supported the Stalin during the Holodomor in Ukraine or Mao during the 3 years of the Great Famine? And I'm going to say in both cases, no.
Would you have supported the U.S. South during Jim Crow?
Yeah.
Like, can you read the beginning of that email off?
Can you guys can be socialists without being useful idiots for murderous Maduro regime.
Where's the stuff about the Maoist China and that stuff? Because to characterize China as Maoist China,
would you have supported Stalin during the Holodomor in Ukraine or Mao during the 3 years of Great Famine when they turned away international aid and millions died of hunger?
I'm an anarcho-communist. What do you think my position is on Stalin?
Yeah,
he only killed like 1 million of us.
Yeah, I guess I just think it's ridiculous.
It's also just frankly too like, okay, again, let's have a slightly reality-based conversation here. So I'll even go it on right-wing terms. I am a critic of Lee Kuan Yew and the Singaporean system, and they definitely are repressive and abusive of people's rights. And there has never been any reporting and any legitimate claim that they did anything on the scale of what Pinochet did in Chile. So even to draw like that kind of direct, like to say Maduro, who absolutely violates human rights and abuses absolutely to exist, and there are, I'm sure, some shortages, though that's been exaggerated. Clearly, independent reporting does show that for sure. But you're going to compare that to millions of people dying in the Great Leap Forward or any number of Stalin's crimes? That is
emotional blackmail.
And historically delusional to the point of being offensive.
You got to deal with the options on the table, right? Because there was a legitimate left resistance to Stalin at various points in time. So, of course, I would side with them in that instance. If the choice is on the table here were authoritarian sort of social democrat Maduro on the one hand and left resistance from the communes on the other, I would side with the communes. But those aren't the options here.